And we're back. Hi, everybody. Welcome to our deconstruction and thoughts on RuneQuest Starter Set Adventure 2, A Fire in the Darkness. And everyone's silent. You are muted.
Yes. Yeah, we're
Oh,
we're
yeah.
here. I mean,
I use
I thought the system was a lot of fun. I think definitely the part that we didn't get to see the extra character creation is maybe a little bit too overboard.
Character creation is insane. It's hard.
Yeah, it's a little
Spent
bit too
2
much.
hours on a character, and that wasn't deciding or decision paralysis. That was just making character.
I like making characters. I like how it's called just making characters.
It's like that's like the history of your great-grandparents, your grandparents, and like it all involves everything in links, so it can be convoluted.
I personally think the skills, like the fact that there was a lot of them, was good. I thought maybe like because we were using maybe the like lesser rules or stuff, there were still some skills that were like should have been there that could have been maybe flushed out more if they were separated a little bit or better explained. That was kind of like there was an ambiguity sometimes. It was like searching or scanning or listening. It's like
Yeah, scan's more of a quick looking perception. Searching is like stopping and searching a room for everything in detail.
yeah.
As a GM, I actually had it like which ones to ask for the most part.
Yeah.
I'll say that.
But I mean, for some of the ones where it was like, oh, do you guys have like a religion knowledge? It was like, no, I don't have a religion knowledge. I don't have that. It's like, do you have a knowledge about this? No, I have no. Apparently, I've done tattooing for so long, but I have no knowledge on it.
Yeah, that was a bit of a weird one for that character. Yeah. The skills are kind of a lot of the religious and spiritual skills are kind of weird.
Yeah.
A lot of that actually comes up in like spirit combat. That's where a lot of those things come in, and like getting back your spirit powers or getting back your rune powers from religion, like your body preparation, preparing the dead and stuff like that. That's meditating and stuff like that. That comes in more of like the religious side of the game where you're getting your powers back and or trying to advance into higher levels of your temple and stuff. So it does come into play, but
yeah, I mean,
not as often.
I think overall the system has like a lot of potential to it, and definitely I would probably play something like this again. I like the fact that it's not focused on being murder hobos, except for some people.
That was just the character.
Yeah.
Except for some
An
people.
interpretation of the character.
I think it's everything that he finds, actually. Personal belief. I believe that maybe you should find a character that isn't a murder hobo, perhaps.
There was a pacifist character in the 14 to 2.
Yeah, there was a pacifist character I could have chosen, but I chose this one. I haven't played the lawful stupid character in a while, and it was fun. I normally play chaos, but this guy was the complete
was chaos by being
chaos
so lawful.
By being so lawful, yes. My thoughts on this is like I like the setting. I like there aren't games that really play in a Bronze Age setting. With that mythology and stuff like that, which is cool to see. I like the way you can buff stuff with your affinities and things like that. But I think there's a lot of bloat in this system.
It does slow the rolls down because you're buffing.
It slows a lot down, and we didn't really do combat, and combat is like if you think D&D, if you've sat at a table for 3 sessions in D&D with an epic battle, I think you could do a 10 session combat with this thing, because especially if you're rolling dice and looking at your sheet, doing it manually, like combat would like really slow down a game. And I know it's not a big part, but
because they're also opposed rolls too.
Opposed rolls, and then you roll to see where you hit, and like for a single action in combat, it's about 4 to 5 rolls. And so then if you've got 10 people in a combat all fighting each other and each action is 4 to 5 rolls, it's just insane. Insane the amount of rolling you would be doing. So like that kind of bloat really would slow down a table, and I don't think that's a good thing of the system.
At PAX, I picked up a where to hit dice. And
so they have specialized dice for it, yeah.
So this is a generic version of a to hit dice. There once was a specialized dice which from Chaosium, which had 2 of the same one on the dice. So you're hitting like the left leg more than anything else because it was on the dice twice, and the right leg wasn't on the dice or something. That was a misprint. And it went on for years where it was just like a common thing where the dice had like,
you just don't hit the right leg. It's fine. That's like, don't hit that one.
I will say
also the stats, and I was just going to finish my last the stats, like when you succeed, tick the box, and then when it's time, have a roll to see if it levels up. I like that. I like it's it's you're using that skill, so it's improving. It has a real feel of your character rather than just here's a level up, here's a whole bunch of new stuff. It's I succeeded at being really talky, so now next time I level up, my talky skills have gone up. It makes more of a sense.
I'd agree with that. I feel like D&D, while they've tried to improve it subtly with some of their expansion books, like what your party members are supposed to do with an alchemist kit or with cartography tools if they're just wandering around in the woods, like they could find uses, or like map makers tools or leatherworking or jewelers. It's like they have recommended things in very specific instances, but it's like the majority of the time no generic party is going to use those, or like a lot of these other random skills. So it's like, or like, how is a party member supposed to develop a skill if they want to go push in that way? They just don't. So,
and like Nere's learned troll speak from nothing.
Yeah,
it was great moments.
And that's it. And like the ability to just go. All right, I have a passion. I hate all these people that are eating goats, and instantly I can put that and now use that as a role-playing way to develop the story, but also in a mechanical way, it assists me in roles. Like that's a really cool idea.
And at the same time, GM can use it against you. Yeah.
Yes, can use it against.
Yeah.
I just can't use passions to a party to defend people when none of the party gives a shit because they're not loyal to the city, the state, to anything. It's like, fuck it, I'll just let you stand back and watch someone get killed.
Maybe you should have. Maybe you should have picked a city where we liked people in it.
From the GM's point of view, with like the characters, because there are 14 characters to choose from. I love that you chose the same 3 that we've had previously because I like these 3 characters. You played them differently to them as well, which is also quite interesting to see because everyone has different interpretations of them. But 14 characters, they were super diverse, and of the stories, it does have instances where a character really, really shines in the stories, like with Dazrim and the fire built, like the building on fire. Like you started off like chanting fire, fire, burn everything, and then it's like, oh, there's a child inside. Oh, and you just burst straight inside because you're pretty much immune to fire. Well, you're not immune, but you take half damage.
But yes, I'm much more appropriate for running into fires than anyone else.
Yes.
My character had very little at the start. I think it was like a 15 or a 20 in like first aid, but it's like there's quite a few instances in trying to like make sure people were stabilizing things using first aid, because I didn't really have a very large rune magic of healing like other people did. So it's like trying to do what my character could. It's like it came out with like a 30 something or whatever, like higher 20 first aid. So it's like they definitely showed improvement because they're using it all the time.
We did condense the level up to like once a session instead of like once a adventure.
But
Yeah.
you know, over the course of a campaign, that would like pay off, and it would feel like he's
Yes.
actually doing something.
Yeah,
and
you feel like you are that your character is growing.
and on top
And
of that,
not just
the times you
getting
did,
powerful.
like the boy was pulled out of the building, and like, oh, your first thought was like, I'll do first aid of them. Like, I didn't tell you at the time, but I told you the week after. It's like, yeah, if you didn't, that child was dead the next turn, or even tonight, like in the last episode, like. If you didn't heal like I gave you the option of like, do you want to use that success on the unconscious woman or on the one
Or
which
the
is
man
bleeding to
splitting
death? It's like,
both.
because they're gone if you don't, like, they are going to bleed out. Like, it's like, it is brutal if you don't, like when you saw the instance of like you're in the alley, there's a person on the ground, like she's about to hit him. What are your options? And I know you tried to talk him down, talk her down.
Yeah,
Like,
well, that was it. I did the
one of
cop thing.
these-
I'm like,
yeah.
intimidate. I
Yeah,
was
I know.
like, oi, stop. And then they didn't, so I shot by chopping
Your
her leg
intimidates
off.
So-
have like failed literally
No,
every
it
time.
wasn't
Every
that.
time. I have not
Every
succeeded
time.
on a single intimidate.
It
at
wasn't
all.
that. She was out. Like the
Yeah, she was
creature
Kurt. Exactly.
the creature can do a couple of things. The creature can drive someone mad, and that's what it did. So she just like, if she survived and you tried to interrogate her, she'd be growling at people and hissing and trying to bite at the ropes. She turns into just like a ravaged animal, just with fury and vengeance. And even when, if you can calm her down, if you can get priests to calm her down, she's spouting all this nonsense about them like having an affair and stuff like that, which is, she's not even true. But there's also other things which goes on, like if you save the woman, like if you save the maid, she ends up leaving the family because she can't trust them anymore. So there's other things in there which, like, for later things that might come up, like you might see her in a tavern later, of like she's not working for that family anymore because she can't trust them. So there's a lot of interesting stuff there as a GM to put in, and there's a lot of like, it's
And
written.
it seems that,
Yeah.
written really well for the GM is what it seems. Like, it gives you so many options. If the player does this, here's this. If the player does this, here's this. And that's, like, I haven't seen it, but that, like, as a GM, especially running it as, like, for a new GM, that would be really, really handy, knowing the breadth and the options of a role-playing game, but having them actually give you,
And it would
some
seem
direct
a
options.
lot better on the role, on like the world building aspect, have been like you said, it was like, oh, if this happens or this happens, she ends up here. Like sometimes they'll just say like, oh, you can find the head priest in the temple. Like that's the only line about them out on like where they could be in the entire
and
book.
the whole interactions that the party might go through with that person is not there. Like, and that's a whole huge part of DMing,
Right.
is understanding how NPCs fit into the world and how the player's actions with them change the world.
There's also details on like her, like for those three that we did this tonight. It's actually called, what's it called? It's called something specific. Insanity in the Streets is the scenario. For those three, like it's actually got their relationships between each other, that she looks up to to her masters. She's a slave, but she's like a willing slave. Like she works for them, and like it's got those relationships between all the three of them, and how good it is to, I think, also emphasize how bad what happened was. To push even further buttons.
Feet.
Yeah. But like just to push those buttons even further if possible. But also I found in prepping up that there's a whole section of like, okay, if the players do go to the temple without investigating, they can find all the people from the campsite trying to like push back the loon. It's like, yeah, I totally freaking missed that in the first time we played through. It's
We could have already been...
like,
It doesn't
yeah.
like, but it's still built, like it still came out as quite a good story with, you know, a good arc to it. Like, yeah, it was very well written, very, yeah.
So, have you got thoughts? You're being quiet.
Yeah.
Everyone's saying things. I've been up all day. My brain's scrambled. People are pretty much agreeing with what I think.
Have you got any new thoughts?
That
they haven't.
I wish that they would. What's it called? I wish I had more things to do with my I know there's probably where to properly build your character. There's probably more to do with spirit magic and stuff. This character felt like very
one-dimensional.
If we had gotten more into the religion or the spirit aspect of it, I feel like we would have seen a little bit more of our two character sides. Because my character had a lot of those worship and other skills where I was like, huh, never got to use this 55 in spirit combat.
I have a 30. I have a 40 in climb.
That's not bad.
You jumped.
You jumped.
You decided to
jump instead.
Also, I have a 35 in using the bow.
Yeah.
I never got to use a bow.
The first scenario is a lot more combat, which is why I know I was recommended when speaking to a few people about RuneQuest that the first scenario isn't a good example of the game because combat is just yes, you might be familiar with it from D&D games, but this game isn't built around combat because combat is so dangerous, chopping off someone's leg. That was one hit.
With one roll, it was a goodbye leg.
Yeah. And that probably wasn't even max damage.
Yeah. One thing I would say about this is I don't think it's a good system for new tabletop players. It's too much, way too much. We're all experienced tabletop players and we were able to work our way through it, but we still struggle. If you are a new tabletop, first time sitting at a table, you would not want to be playing this game because it would just be way too much for you to even comprehend.
The only way I slightly knew where to look for things or how to do things or what exactly I should properly roll for that is because I've been playing D&D for 11 years.
I feel though, if you had a DM who's maybe not so new and the table was new and the DM was kind of giving us the same leads that Karsh was you guys should be scanning. If someone's playing a full campaign and went through the effort to build the character, they'll pick up the fact that it's all right, this is a moment I can scan.
Yeah.
Well, you guys did it tonight.
Yeah.
You feel like you're being watched.
Yes, but we're experienced. We're very experienced players.
Monkey see, monkey do. I mean,
we all have a decade each of playing these games. And if this was the first game that I sat down to a table at, I probably wouldn't have come back for the second session because it's way too much.
Yeah. It does
get your head in
it
around.
Does from this game. It does actually in the books prompt, it actually from the GM writing. It says, ask your players to do this, or if your players have this, and it says which character out of the 14 has it. They might prompt your character if to use this role or this and that. So it does have a lot of prompts there to help with that coaxing in. I do agree, it is a lot. There's a lot into this game. I actually have the books. I haven't got the big almanac, but I do own the books. And even though this is the starter, this is a full-on, there's a lot in the starter kit. I generally praise the Chaosium starter kits for having so much information. The solo quest, which great way for picking up the system. It feels like it's been 3 months since we played it.
True.
But it does feel like it's been that long, but it's a nice way of oh yeah, this is the world is so different in solo quest, and you get that feel that it is so much different from D&D. All the preparations for the battles, do you want to go to the temple, to the shrine? Do you want to make this roll or that roll? Do you want to cast this spell to give yourself movement in the battlefield, or cast it on your mount and things like that? I really like solo quest, even though again, it's brutal and you die.
A lot.
A lot.
So would you play this again? Would you
I
bring
would.
this to your own table?
I
Me?
thought about it.
No, I wouldn't. I would not.
Yeah.
I think it's just too clunky. If they had a much more refined version of the rules, like slimmed it down and stuff like that, yeah, maybe. But this system it's got too much old school.
Right. The wording and some of those abilities need to be reworked a little bit.
Yeah, it's because it was made in the 80s. It's still got all of that clunk that the new systems have, shed and stuff. But this system is holding on to it all, holding on to all of that.
Yes,
so hard it feels.
As someone who did make my entire party for a year and a half play, I'm going to actually name the system, because if you ever look this up and read any of the rules, you'd understand what pain I made them go through. But we played DC Heroes, Blood of Heroes Special Edition.
Oh God.
Which is a horrible system. But we managed to get through that system, which has hit points for individual bricks and walls. This is not that hard, and I would play this game with my group. But then again, we're all maniacs who play like city survivor games on purpose.
I play in my IRL group with some people that I feel like would really flourish with the kind of like non-combative sort of sense of like things. Like one of them is like draws of art of literally all her characters and obsesses over her characters' backstories to so degree that like D&D would actually just cry if it ever saw her actually writing these elaborate backstories. Kudos to her. But it's like, that's just overkill for D&D. But for this, it would actually like flourish, and it would kind of
she would love the character creation system of this, because it's in depth. So
it is your entire family lineage to who you are, and you start in D&D. You start at first level, which is essentially just like you're a peasant, but you're a peasant with a weapon.
But somehow still have a noble background
with a history. You start as a hero. You're known as a hero. You have, well, in theory, you have a reputation, but you just chose to play the characters which didn't have reputations. But I'd love that when you say I am such and such, I can just go reputation roll, please. It's like, no, never heard of you, and just move forward. I love as a GM being able to do that. But you start as a hero. You start as a known person. Where in D&D you don't. So that is a big difference. Your character creation, you also, like you might be famous because your grandparent or your parent was at such and such a battle, and you're descended from that.
I'm actually going to pull reputation into the next game I run and run that as a mechanic of people, because I really like that idea of an easy way to see if someone is known. Just roll this roll and we'll see if this person knows you and stuff. And the way it increases, and you gain reputation points after doing quests. Like that's a cool
them or whatever.
Oh yeah, exactly, or whatever it may be. But that idea of your standing within the world that is around you is cool, because you're supposed to be, in nearly any tabletop game, you're always playing hero, and a hero should have a reputation.
Yeah, and even failing a quest will give you reputation, but your reputation of a failure.
Yeah,
and exactly. I mean, it was also nice, like, to have the varied reputation in the group, because that also like builds to the character's backstory. Like our priest in the party was more well known than us. And I, being the reputation of after I rolled had a 3, really just felt like you walked around and no one is ever gonna know your name. But that's okay, because you're gonna loot them and lie to their face, and that's fine.
Yeah. When I say there's a lot to do, like a lot of stuff for this game, this is just the new version of Galanthea. There's multiple versions of Galanthea. This is not the quick start which we've been playing. This is the slip box, of everything. So this actually has your full rules, your bestiary, and a third of this is just Games Master material, like calendars, rituals, maps, massive amount of material. A third of that's just Games Master, and not like a Games Master rules, it's like handouts galore.
That's nice.
And that's expensive. All you need is like just the core rules to play, but it's nice to have everything. You then have weapons and equipment. It's not huge, but it's got lots of bits and pieces, more unique stuff. Again, because you're playing Bronze Age. Scenarios, a second scenarios, and a book of magic. And the artwork for everything is just random page. Oops, of course, a random page without artwork. So the artwork's always nice. I've really been impressed with the artwork throughout all the books.
Oh.
The art style I've really been impressed with.
Zebra Cowboy. It's like, who's not impressed with the Zebra Cowboy? Come on.
Are you saying they're not using AI art?
I don't believe Chaosium allows AI art. I really don't believe that they allow it. But yeah, I've been really impressed with them. I would love to bring this to a group. I am actually bringing this to a face-to-face group. Just like we did character creation like 2 years ago. So we might get our first game in another couple of years. Who knows? That's my face-to-face group these days.
Memories. I've never played face-to-face. Actually, no, I did once in middle school, but I don't think it counts.
These are people that I've known from school. Like long time ago. Any other thoughts on the game or the system, or before we wrap it up?
Surprisingly, lack of dinosaurs.
Yeah. No dinosaurs.
You know, those well-known, famous Bronze Age dinosaurs.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
No dinosaurs.
Yeah. Well, there was a Rex in the city. We didn't know if it was a Tyrannosaurus Rex or not.
Oh, my bad. Okay, yep. That makes
Get out
sense.
of this house. Get out of my house right now.
For the quick start, I think there's 3 scenarios. Like, this is the quick start of the starter set. There's 3 scenarios. The first one's combat. The second one is where we just played, which is more investigation. And the bad guys aren't actually the bad guys, which is what I like. It does have that little bit of a conflict there. The third one is a bit more generic, or I actually don't really know it as well. But yeah. I think that's about it. I like the system. I like the D100s. I like BRP. I do agree that it is getting old. Like, it does feel old and has some clunkiness to it. One of the things I really like is the link stats. Like the derived stats out of 100. That's one of the things I really like about the game. And that you can use those to, like, use the runes to kind of give you guidance of, like, my character has high in fertility and like low in death, so she's more flirtatious than violent. Or she might be more impulsive because she's got bestial, like a beast impulsiveness, rather than man's thinking things through. You can use those runes as like a linked thing, and the passions I love. You can just declare a hatred for goat eaters.
Or a love for trolls.
Or love for trolls. So things like that I really like about the system. But on that, I like the background. There's so much world building in this that is, if you're really a big fan of world building and deep lore, there's a lot of it in this game. If you don't need to touch on it, but there is a lot there if you want to search for it. I can't think of anything else. Combat's very violent in the game. If you're looking for combat, you're not the game for you. Really freaking violent. Yeah. Any other thoughts? No. I think everything's been mentioned. That's it. That's our wrap for this. We're prepping what? What are you prepping? Mutant Year Zero.
New Zero. I think that's the next one we're going to be doing. I will be running New Zero. We're going to play some anthropomorphic animals in a post-apocalyptic wasteland.
And I'm starting to actually prep something similar, which is maybe a duck boy.
DuckTales, woo.
Dragonbane just came out. Well, I just opened my Kickstarter actually, and I'm starting to have a look at prepping that because it's pretty much similar to this, but an updated version of it. So this might be Dragonbane might be actually what you're talking about by updating how old RuneQuest feels.
Awesome.
So that's what I'm thinking. But other than that, do outros and we'll do a credits roll.
I am OblivionShay. Oh, well, I'm
Yeah,
OblivionShay. I was playing Nary's Rune Painter. You can find me on OblivionShay at Twitch. And I was the first one to do my outro today.
Okay.
Hey, I'm Dr. Oblong. I was playing Deserum Crescent Blade, but I am an electronic music artist. You can check out my music at SoundCloud/Dr. Oblong if you want to listen to weird music.
Mm-hmm.
That's me.
Zaraeea?
I am Zaraeea. I was planning. Goodness, I was playing Yana, the nearest daughter. You can find me basically anywhere with the name Zaraeea attached to it. I tried to keep my branding pretty consistent, but I actually like this game because I am a nerd who likes numbers. So
Wait, does that mean we have to I do have a more complex game if you want.
I want to send you the
I want to go to the simplest system. I just want a coin flip game. All you do is flip a coin, and that's the only way you decide things.
Karsh, look me in the eyes. I'm gonna send you my 25 gigabyte document for DC Blood of Heroes, DC Heroes Blood of Heroes Special Edition, and I want you to even try and figure out how to make a character with that system.
25 gigabytes?
I mean, the hardest characters I've done is actually in this game. I'm not kidding. Or MechWarrior / BattleTech. The two hardest characters of character creation. The hardest game I played, or haven't played but tried to look into, was Altered Carbon, which I read the rules and it feels like you need to be a computer programmer to figure out the rules. I've been told that it runs okay, but understanding the rules is really hard. But either way, let's wrap this up. Thank you everyone for coming in, and I'm sure we'll find some more games to play. So enjoy your role play. Bye for now.